Hey, so in this video we are going to discuss about if-else-if ladder in C++. Let's quickly get started. If-else-if ladder is one of the decision control statement that is available in C++. Let's see its syntax, how we can write if-else-if ladder in C++. Let's quickly see its syntax. Super easy. You have to write if keyword followed by expression 1, or I'll say condition 1, because now we know that expression acts like a condition, right? And if the condition is true, then if body will be executed. After this you can write else if. Okay, it's very similar to writing multiple if, but over here there is slight modification in the syntax. Over here we are writing else if. Okay, so you have to write else keyword followed by space followed by if. After writing else if, you can write another expression, that is expression 2 or condition 2, and then else if body, and so on. You can write as many else if that you want. Okay, and for each and every else if you can write a different condition. If you want to write same condition as well, that's fine. I mean, it's your call. So basically you can write if followed by multiple else ifs followed by their conditions, and finally it's kind of optional. Finally, if you want, you can also add else statement. Okay, now I forgot to tell you one thing in the last video. It's very important. See, whenever you want to use else statement, it needs to be attached with if statement, okay, or if else if ladder. It needs to be attached with either if statement or if else if ladder. Else statement cannot appear independently. It cannot exist independently, and it makes sense, right? Because whenever we are writing else statement, it needs to have some if statement. So if statement is going to have some condition, and if that condition is false, then we are going to go inside the else statement. That's why else statement cannot exist independently. It needs to be attached with some if statement or if else if ladder. So in if else if ladder, you can also optionally add else statement in the end. Now let's see how this if else if ladder executes. What is the execution flow of this if else if ladder? For that, what I have done is I have created one flow chart for you. Let's understand this flow by the help of this flow chart. So we'll start with if else if ladder, right? In if statement we have condition 1, correct? So this is my condition 1. Now if my condition 1 is true, then I'm going to execute body of my if statement. So for that I have written statement 1. So if condition 1 is true, that is if condition is true, then you are going to execute if body. Okay, once you execute the if body, then after that you will directly go and execute statement after if else if ladder. For example, let me just add one statement over here. See, for example, after writing if else if ladder, let's say you are writing some cout statement. Let's say cout, here I am. Followed by, let's say, slash n. So what is going to happen? Once if body gets executed, after that directly this statement will be executed. So this entire thing will be skipped. Once condition of if statement is true, if body will execute, and after that we are not going to look at the conditions of other else if statements, or we are not going to go into the else. After this we'll directly execute the line after if else if ladder. Okay, what if this condition is false? What if the condition 1 is false? If condition 1 is false, then we are going to check condition 2, which is condition of else if, right? So if condition 2, which is condition of else if it is true, then we are going to execute body of else if. After executing body of else if, we are directly going to jump on again back to the statement which is just after if else if ladder. If even this condition is false, then what is going to happen? Then we are going to check the third condition. If third condition is true, then we are going to execute body of that else if statement, and after that again we are going to execute the statement after if else if ladder. And if the third condition as well, if it is also false, then in that case finally we are going to execute else body. So in this way the flow works, right? It's super easy. See, if this condition is true, then this body will be executed, and after executing this body we will execute lines after if else if ladder. If this condition is false, then we are going to go to next else if statement. We are going to check its condition. If condition is true, then this thing will be executed. If it is false, then again we are going to go to next else if statement, and then we are going to check the condition, and this will keep on repeating, okay, until either if else if ladder gets finished, or either we reach to the else statement. Once we reach to the else statement, and if all the conditions above are false, then else body will be executed, okay, or I'll say we will reach the else block only if all the conditions that we have written in if else if are false. So I hope now you are clear about how the execution works in if else if ladder. Now I have a very simple example for you. So this is the example that we are seeing in previous videos. So we have two variables a and b, right? So what I have done is I have written three statements, if followed by else, if followed by else. Now whenever you are writing if else if ladder, the sequence needs to be like this only. First you have to write if statement followed by else ifs. See, in else if you can write as many else if as you want, and finally you can write else if you want. Okay, it's not compulsory to write else. So how I have structured my program in this case, see, if a is greater than b, then I am printing a is greater than b. Else if a equal to b, this is my another condition. So see, if this condition is true, then a greater than b is going to be printed on the screen. Then these two things will not be checked, or they will not be executed. If this condition is false, then we are going to go to else if and we are going to check this expression, result of this expression. So if this condition evaluates to true, then this body will be executed. Otherwise, finally, we are going to go inside the else statement. Okay. So in this way, you can write if else if ladder. See, the similar code can be also written in one different way. So let me show you how we can write the same code with little bit change. So you can write if followed by else if, right? Now here, instead of else, what I have done is I have written another else if. Okay, so if I have written condition as a greater than b, then in else if I have written condition as a equal to b, and in the third else if, or in the second else if, I'll say I have written condition as b less than a. Okay, but actually you don't need to write this condition. It's actually overhead on the programmer. Why? Because see, a can be either greater than b, or it can be equal to b, or it can be less than b, right? Other than these three conditions, there is no other possible scenario, right? So in this if statement, we have handled the condition for a is greater than b. In this else if, we have handled the condition for a equal to b, correct? So finally, if both these conditions are false, then definitely a is going to be lesser than b. So actually, we don't need to write this condition explicitly. We can also write else instead of writing this condition. And wait, let me see, there is one mistake. I have done one mistake over here. I have written b less than a. Okay, so this condition is very similar to this condition. So yeah, I hope you are getting my point. See, over here the condition is a greater than b, and over here condition is b less than a. Actually it should be a less than b. Okay, so my bad. Okay, so you don't need to write this condition because it will be handled explicitly. So instead of writing this condition, or instead of writing this else if, you can just write else. Why? Because a is not greater than b, a is not equal to b, then what a is going to be? A is definitely going to be less than b, and that's why whenever both these conditions are false, we are going to come to this else statement and else body will be executed. So in this way, if else if statement works in C++. I hope you are clear on how if else if statement works in C++ now. Now let's try to execute this code and let's see whether it is working as per our expectations or not. So let me just copy this code from the comments and let's put it outside of the comments and we'll execute this code. So let me just put it properly. Okay, cool. Now let's quickly execute this code. So let me clear my terminal and let's quickly compile the code. G++ if else ladder. Okay, and let's execute this code. So you can see we are getting output as b greater than a. Why we are getting output as b greater than a? See, because a is not greater than b, so this condition is false, so this part will not be executed. Again, a is not equal to b, so again this condition is also not true, so this part will also not be executed, and finally else part will be executed. Now let's say if I change the value of a and if I make it as, let's say, 4, then in that case let's see what happens. So focus very carefully. You can see in this case we are getting output as a and b are equal. And let's say, let me add one statement after this else. So let's say I am getting executed. Okay, now let's quickly compile and execute this code. Let me show you one thing. So you can observe that a and b are not equal. A and b are equal is getting printed, and after that this line is also getting printed. So that is what we were discussing in the flowchart. See, whenever this if else if ladder gets executed, after any of the block gets executed, either it can be if block or else block, or it can be else if block, right? After any block gets executed, the execution or the control is going to transfer to the line after the if else if ladder. So whenever in this case this block is getting executed, see, this compound statement is also called as block. I have told you this thing in some of the previous video, right? So once this block gets executed, where the execution is going to come? Execution is going to come over here. Okay, so that is something that I explain you with the help of this flowchart. Whenever any statements get executed, statement below if else if ladder gets executed. So in this way the execution works in if else if ladder. Okay,